Good evening, everybody. Matrix here, and here's my watch list for January 3rd, 2019. Okay, as you can see here, we have a major gap down here on the SPY futures. We actually also had a major gap down yesterday as well. So, and what the SPY futures did is basically they dump out and they gap down, and then eventually once the bell rung, they filled the gap right back up. So tomorrow, going into the thesis, I'm actually going to be looking for the same thing. I'm going to look for this little gap fill right here. And the gap fill is going to head back up to the 2,490 area. That correlates to the SPY at around the 249 area, all right? So anywhere from 249 to 250s. Yeah, anywhere from 249 to 250s. This is a very concise resistance zone. Actually, we can even tighten it up to around 24.95 here. So in relation with the SPY, that would be 249 to 249.5. So I'm going to be looking for that gap fill at the open, maybe dump a little bit right at the bell and then rip. It's kind of like the same action that we have today. And then fill this gap back up and then top out from there and fail. Today was a tough trading day. I mean, I really thought that the market gap down we had last night was going to induce some panic, and sure it did, but while we slept, right? So that didn't make sense. Essentially, it's I know a lot of traders today well, they didn't get crushed, but they did get scratched up on the thesis of thinking that this massive gap down will induce a panic on the market itself. Unfortunately, it didn't. However, it did top out at, once again, a major area here, dating back to the Fed speak on December 20th. Okay, so I want to pull back and see where that is here. Yeah, still dating back to this line. So basically, as long as the market is holding under this line, I am going to keep my bear bias or short bias. But what is happening right now currently, I think it's smart money and the market makers are playing some kind of a games, basically setting a lot of traps, right? They're consistently gapping it down and then making the shorts feel that it's weak, and then they trap all the shorts. And then they run it back up, making the longs thinking that the market is strong, and then at the end of the day, they hammer it right back down, looking for like double top areas, right? So I think the market itself will follow this pattern for a little while until at least one of these catalysts, either the trade talks or Trump tweet out something stupid again, either one of these catalysts settles, right? I think the market is going to continue to play these games and essentially get ready for that massive dump. I mean, someday it's going to come up to here, and then the next day it'll just pull right the way all the way down, right? So let's take a look at the SPY here real quick. Ooh. SPY. SPY. SPY, we did close pretty strong. We had this massive gap down due to Apple coming out with an after hours catalyst saying that they lowered their guidance. However, I am looking for this gap fill tomorrow, so it's gonna gap down a little bit more and then gap fill back up to the 249 area. As you can see, this trend line plays very well. You can see it evidently on the futures chart. So actually, let me bring back up the futures. That trend line I mark off on the SPY is actually this trend line right here. So it just kind of broke it. But then we also have a short-term trend line. If I zoom in a little bit, and it's holding that well. So it's trying to break back up. Okay. What I want to see is at the open, it's already up here. And I want to short it out of the gates. But I don't know if we can get that because we still have a few more hours to go. Okay. So going back to the SPY. Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see it pop back up into this 249 area and then sell off. And with that said, the watch list tonight is based a lot on the SPY, just to keep it nice and simple. A lot of these market leading stocks will follow the action of the SPY. So I'll be basically a handful of stocks that you pick will follow them. So stuff like Apple, Netflix, Facebook, Google, Amazon, right? Yeah, basically a lot of stocks, the bigger names on the S&P 500 will follow the SPY. So a handful of them. You just need to pick the ones with more pre-market volume to help you determine how it's moving. And the theory is the same. We're going to be looking for a pop and drop. So let's get into my watch list. I'm going to be looking at Apple tomorrow for sure. This is a main watch. What I want to see is this massive sell-off is kind of like an overreaction. I want to see it pop back up though. For sure, I want to see it pop back up. I guess first up, test the 147, which is a key psychological hold number. And then resistance number 2, I'll be looking at 147.75. Right around here to the 148 area. This, we have a resistance zone. Okay. And if we break out of this resistance zone and starts holding, then it's a long and it's going to fill the gap back up. Right now, on the daily chart, I mean, if we're looking at it, we are currently sitting at 146. So let's mark that off for you real quick. 146. Right here. Right. And I'm going to be watching this area, right? If I draw this horizontal line across, I'm going to be watching this area right here for it to reject, right? And if it gets back up, then it's going to fill the gap a little bit back up to 150. So be very careful of this gap fill. This would essentially be like a squeeze mark right here at the 147.80s to 148, right? Ideally, I want to use this two lows as a resistance, but it's seriously getting too close to that, and I do think it will be able to get back up and over. So I'll be watching these two areas on Apple. Next up, we have Roku. Sorry, I sound a little tired right now. It's 3 a.m. and it's getting pretty late. I just came home a while ago. So, but Roku, I'll be watching for the same theory, right? The same thesis. I'm be watching 31.50 to 32. These areas played very key for the past few days, right? If I scroll back, you can see how it played very well. It's the top of the resistance area, right? The stock itself is holding 31 right now, so I'm going to look for a cover pop and drop. Yeah, and if it reclaims this, you know what? Seriously, I don't think it can get back above. I mean, as strong as it looks right now, I think it's going to dump. But you always got to be careful about the squeezing points, right? A lot of short sellers are looking at Roku, and basically Roku has always been the short seller's favorite. So the market makers themselves, they will be looking at this and looking at squeezing the stock to kind of trap the shorts and hammering it back down, getting the shares themselves, right? So mark off Roku, 31.50 and 32 area, as well as high of days. So look for the rejection signal from there. Next up, we have MU. MU currently is sitting at 31.66. I'll be watching the 32 and the 32.20 mark. So let's mark that off. This is 32.20, and then this is 32 right here, right? So we have, first of all, 32, a very key psychological hold number, and then 32.20, we have prior tops from the past few days, right? Since we are below that, I think it's going to want to test it and then come right back down. This is the resistance zone. I'm going to look for a rejection signal from there. Scrolling back, I mean, yeah, this zone works pretty well, in my opinion. So you can look at that, as well as marking off. I'll also mark off high up days at the 33, and also looking at 32.5. I mean, yes, there is a lot of resistance zone we got to look at, but any of these points where I will expect it to fail, but then you really need to let it confirm first. So let it fail, let it come back up, and when it comes back up and retrace and it shows signs of weakness again, setting a lower high or a double top, you can get in from any one of these resistance zone, right? The very important part is to actually wait for the confirmation. So you know they're going to fail at these marks, right? But a lot of times I've actually gotten in too early, right? Knowing that they will fail, I gotten in too early, but I then don't pay myself, and then it ends up coming back up, and then I get stopped out, and then it fails again. So that's the pattern I've been seeing lately, at least for my own trading. So I know I have to work on my patience a little bit there, or either I take that first scalp play and then let it run back up and then add back in and make it a 2-trade deal, right? Today, basically what happened to me was exactly these type of moves, right? I was in Netflix earlier. I want to talk about Netflix. I was in Netflix this morning, and I got in at 9:35 right here. I got in at this candle right here, and basically I saw it pop up. I saw it fail. This was a massive retracement, right? It's a big power candle coming down, basically losing all of its gains. This here was a lower high. It came down and got bought back up, and it still held the 9, right? And then I waited one more candle. I saw how weak this was moving in, and I basically took the trade, risking right about here. Now I took the trade right here, and I got an average of 260.05 or something like that, right? I think I took the trade here, or I took the trade here. I don't remember which candle, but I got a very good average, about 260 and change. And instantly it failed and hit this 258 mark and gave me $2. But I never paid myself on this because I was looking for a big picture move. I was looking for the next candle to come right back down. But then by the time it came back up, I'm like, oh shit, it's already too late. There goes my dollar gain. And then I held the bag and basically stuck to my plan. And as this ripped back up, I stopped out. And then, of course, a few minutes later, it dumped out again. So the lesson here is to wait for this retrace and fail to confirm, right? So as it retraced here and it opened, I could have took it right about this area or right at the snap of this 261 and then risk the highs, right? That would make more sense and show more of a double top, or I would have been able to take it right here at the snap of the VWAP. But anyways, my point is, if you're going to take the trade early around these areas here, right, you got to pay yourself and treat it as a scalp because you are getting in early for the first move. Had I paid myself right away, I would have been able to hold all the way up here and still kept gains, right? So that's my little rant and recap on Netflix today. Oh, I have one more ticker on my watch list. This is ARNC. Last night I found a ticker, and it literally just had this parabolic action, but I never put it on. It was actually BITA. I found this ticker last night, and it was looking like this. So I was thinking about putting it on my watch list, but I didn't. And today, as I watch it, I pretty much regretted it because it basically dumped. And funny thing is, I even did research on it and looked up the SEC filing and did news on it, right? It's basically their CEO resigning. So we have a massive parabolic move, and then they announced that their CEO resigning, and the stock sold off. But it's a miss now, so I'm not going to go back to it. Looking at it right now, there is no play for tomorrow. The stock is on SSR, so I'm just going to leave that be. However, I did find ARNC. ARNC ran up on a potential rumor of a buyout deal, right? Let me pull in the news right now, real quick. ARNC. Okay, so ARNC, Apollo Global in talks to buy Arconic for $20, $22 a share. Okay, I want to load this up, and this is the thing right here. The final price is still being negotiated, and talks could fall apart. That's what the report noted. Okay, so with that said, I think people will be looking to get in on this rumor. All right, whoever bought today probably had some inside news, or whoever bought here around the open, either they had inside news or basically they bought it at the breakout and they could still be holding, right? And then late day, they might be able to catch it. We don't know. But this in itself is institutional buying. This is when the stock broke out on news, right? I personally like to see a profit-taking day tomorrow, right? The way it closed, it did close pretty strong after hours or late day. I want to see it dip out the gates, hold this 1810 area, rip back up to the 19s, and 19 is what I'm watching for, okay? If I put the resistance line here on 19, the way it closed so strong, I think it has room to go up a little bit more. But 19, we have key resistance areas and prior support, right? So right there, right here, right here, and now coming into the key psychological number right here. Okay, so I'll be looking at 19 for where they want to take profits. And as far as support goes, I want to mark off the support. If I'm going to short the stock, I want to short it down to the 18 right here. The stock has an average true range of about 80, 85 cents or something like that. So looking for a dollar move here with this massive volume and the highs at 18s. I do like this as a support area and the target area, right? So if it dips out the gates, it holds, then it should be able to rip back up, tag this 19 and come back down. Around the 19 area, I'll be looking for the double top or lower high. So that's my watch list this evening. Very simple. The thesis, follow SPY-related leading stocks because we have a pretty good gauge on the SPY. I want to pull in the futures again and see what they're doing. Yeah, we do have a pretty good gauge on the SPY. My thesis is that it fills this gap right here, as you can see, this little gap. It fills it back up to 249. 249 to 250 area is a resistance zone, and bring it back down. Bring in the SPY again real quick and show you this area. Okay. So this is 250, 249. We have a very key resistance zone. As long as it holds under, my bias is still going to be short. Okay. Coming into the daily chart, let's expand this a little bit. Again, 250, 249. Right. It might have as much room to go to 251 and change. Okay, I think that's what it almost did today. Right. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see the 251 and change right here. Okay, it does have massive volume. 251.5. This is the Fed speak, right? The Fed's announcing the rate hikes. So this in itself is also key resistance. I think the SPY is just going to chop around and fake out, and then essentially I'll be looking for that major sell-off for either late day, early day, whatever. Whenever it fills the gap, whenever it shows me some sort of double top around 249 or 250 area, I'll be looking for a major sell-off, and then I'll be looking for in relations to major leading stocks, stuff like Apple, Facebook, Google, Amazon, etc., etc. And that's the thesis on tomorrow. Have a great evening. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow. Ciao. Fuck. Did I plug it in? Oh, fuck.